Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Dialogue. Today I'm very excited to have this person on board. We have the lovely Ellie Halabian.
Thanks for having me here. I'm a general dentist here in New York City. Did my education at NYU. When I graduated of residency, I was on this high and I thought, okay, I'm ready to hit the ground running. I want to go work, make some money because we've been in school for so long. I got my first job at a federally qualified healthcare center. I ended up in an environment that was very restrictive. So within the first year of practice, I was feeling it physically, mentally. So I started the podcast Teeth Matter to have these real conversations with other dentists to unveil the realities of what a career in dentistry looks like.
Would you say that dentists too often try to fight for themselves?
The fact that you go through so much work, so much study, so much effort to achieve that degree, that when you come out, no one tells you about the challenges, whether it's physical, emotional, mental. You go from student to adult in a very quick way. They amplify and magnify the pressure that there is on dentists, but no one tells us that exists in school.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Dialogue. Today I'm very excited to have this person on board. Why? Because they're a fellow podcaster like us over at Teeth Matter, she talks about everything that kind of gets overlooked in dentistry. I had a look at some of the stuff that she's done. It's awesome. You guys should check her out as well. But before you do that, make sure you're staying attentive and you watch this. We have the lovely Ellie Halabian. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Before we do dive in, I mean, we had a chat just before I gave you an intro. Before we go back to that nice topic, if you could intro yourself, just tell the people a little bit about you so that for people who may not know.
Sure. I'm a general dentist here in New York City. I've born and raised here and actually did my education at NYU. When I did that, I graduated in 2021. So I did a year of residency, which is mandatory in New York State. And when I graduated of residency, I was on this high and I thought, okay, I'm ready to hit the ground running. I want to go work, make some money because we've been in school for so long. And I wanted to start my adult life. And when I did that, I got my first job at a federally qualified healthcare center. And I don't know if you know what that is, but it's very basically public health. And in that kind of environment, I initially thought, okay, I'm going to be of service to people. I'm going to see many different types of cases. I'm going to get as much experience and I'm going to have a steady salary. But instead, I ended up in an environment that was very restrictive. It was very overwhelming. There were limited resources and I found myself burnt out. So within the first year of practice, I was feeling it physically, mentally. And that's when I decided to start Teeth Matter. It was because of that, because I felt so alone. And I thought, it can't just be me. I see my friends who graduated in my class and they're doing all of these before and afters, or they're having the time of their lives and they're traveling. And I was like, how are they making that much money? How are they doing these big cases? We came out of school with the same level of education. So where is that discrepancy? What happened to me? So I started the podcast Teeth Matter to have these real conversations with other dentists to kind of ask my own questions on how to get there, but also to unveil the realities of what a career in dentistry looks like.
That sounds super interesting. Yeah, I think that is a great reason because most of, let's say, the hybrid dentists, let's call them like that, like you, like we are, loads of other guests that we had that not only treat, but also kind of build something next to just practicing, had that realization. And it most times comes end of dental school or after when you start practicing. And yeah, I think it's a great thing. And maybe you would love to go over the few things that you, besides, let's say, the workplace that you had, the things that you didn't like and the benefits that you see right now in the switch from not just being a dentist.
Well, it's in part there's a lot of factors involved when it comes to my disappointment with my career. It was where I was working. It was the location. It was the commute. It was the schedule. All of these things that were basically preoccupying my time. And I didn't love the fact that I was commuting an hour. So I was waking up around 6 a.m., walking in the dark in New York City in the middle of winter, going to an office an hour away from the city in an environment that was dirty. I didn't necessarily feel safe because, like I said, it was a public health clinic. It was not it was in an underserved neighborhood. So all of these things kind of made me realize that this is not where I belong. It's not where I want to be. I deserve somewhere where I feel safe. I deserve somewhere where I feel happy. And those were a few of the factors that kind of, triggered my decision to leave that office. It was not only the burnout, but also the realization that I deserve more. I deserve a better environment to be able to feel healthier, be healthier, feel safe, so I can do the kind of dentistry that I want to do. And that's when I kind of looked for offices in better locations, with people that I knew that were friendly, that were open to mentoring, all of these different things that I was seeking. And eventually I made the transition, and I was really grateful for it.
Awesome. Awesome. And I mean, how did starting that podcast help with that transition? I guess when starting the podcast, what were some of the few things that you noticed that were a change for you, maybe in your head that you got from having some of the first few people on board?
The first thing I realized was people are willing to help. There are people out there who are willing to give advice, to be a friend, a listening ear. And that's when I felt more comfortable. I felt like there's an outlet. And that's the first thing that I realized. And also with the podcast, it was also an opportunity for me to realize that there are other people out there who do struggle, who struggle daily with clinical dentistry, who struggle daily with managing a practice. Not every day is an easy day. So it's more about the time, what your vision is, and how to create that vision and how to push towards that vision. So those were the things that I realized that kind of basically changed my perspective around the type of dentist I want to be and the type of life that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. Would you say, regarding that, I have one very interesting question that popped up in my head. Would you say that, first of all, dentists are people that too often try to fight for themselves? And second of all, if that is something that has to be changed in that case.
I think with dentistry, we are very much in silo. I mean, for me, dentistry wasn't an easy career to go into, and I didn't go dentistry right out of school. So I think because I had a hard time getting into dental school, when I got out, there was a big disappointment. Also, the fact that you go through so much work, so much study, so much effort to achieve that degree, that when you come out, no one tells you about the challenges, whether it's physical, emotional, mental. And I think it's also, you go from student to adult in a very quick way, where people are assuming a lot of responsibility from you. And sometimes you're like, well, now I'm in charge of this person's health. And can I take all of that pressure? And if that person is disappointed with me or comes back with pain or frustration, now I'm liable for that person. So I think all of those really they amplify and magnify the pressure that there is on dentists, but no one tells us that exists in school. No teacher in your row tells you, oh, I had trouble with my first practice, or I was a struggling new dentist.
Yeah.
So no, like you're asking them for help for your dentures or for your fillings and this and that. No one actually tells you, oh, when you graduate, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
So the fact that people haven't shared their stories, I think makes dentistry feel like a really lonely profession. But now with social media, with people who are interacting more with each other, I think it's opening channels for people to have insight into other people's lives and careers. And that's the whole point of Teeth Matter. It's to build that community so that people can understand that everyone is going through some struggle or at different stages in their career.
Yeah. I definitely agree on that. That's something that I realized pretty early on. When we also went the direction of entrepreneurship, you have a completely different, the people are so different in terms of course, you have people who really try to burn you in terms of ripping you apart as a competition. But on the other hand, so many people who work together and understand the benefit of that. And on top of that, they talk about their losses. They talk about their failures because they're more like proud on it. They're like, yo, I'm here now, but before I was broke, I had nothing to eat. I had 5 failed businesses. You would never hear a dentist saying, I had a failed clinic. I have a clinic that is not running that good. I have these certain problems. And I think that is something, it's the dental field, I think, the people are very, I would say, proud. And they would never submit certain things. That's, I think, what I realized during that time
Yeah.
yeah, where
Why
it's
do you think
I
that
definitely
completely
hard.
change is
agree with you.
happening though?
I mean, I hope it's happening, but I still think that dentistry is so much of a perfectionist profession
Hmm.
that, like you said, David, that people are not really willing to share their losses. They're not even willing to share their bad cases or like the fact that a patient came in and complained, right? So perfection is so much a part of our reputation
Mm.
that we think that if we share one negative thing, we're bad mouthing our name. And
Mm,
that's not necessarily the type of dentist that we are. It doesn't mean that we're bad dentists or, bad providers. It's just a matter of fact. Like the day is not going to always be perfect. Let's just accept that.
yeah, yeah,
And like you said, some of us are proud of like the hardships that we go through because when we come out of it with success stories, like we're just beaming to share like
yeah,
the growth that we had, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean, I hope that there's more of us out there.
yeah. I think also what I like, and I mean that really came with social media. I mean, there are so many other fields where still social media came, but they were pretty public with their stories beforehand. But since
Mm,
social media also came about, you can tell that more and more dentists start just documenting their journey or their life inside the practice. And the people, I think, the patients, they enjoy that. Why does it work so well for dentists on social media? Is, I guess, because it was a field that was so closed up. You would know
mhm.
nothing about different dentists, about their private life or their clinic. And suddenly it's such a heavy contrast where people start sharing that. And also, they also share like their mistakes or treatments that haven't been the best. But
Right.
that is what makes us human. And I think that attracts a lot of patients. Would you agree on that?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's on social media now, whether it's patients or
Hmm.
providers. I feel like whenever you're looking to go to, even yourself, when you're choosing a restaurant, when you're choosing where to go on vacation, you're always looking into social media for your research. A patient's going to do the same thing. So when they find a dentist online on social media, they're going to look into their personality, and that's what comes through, right? So they want to
Yeah.
see the space, they want to see the personality, they want to see the types of interactions that they have. And I feel like a lot of them are using that as, their decision making when it comes to selecting their next provider. So I completely agree with you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. How would
Yeah.
you say? Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just agreeing that it's the humanization of the whole field is I
Mhm.
think once you get that down, that's when dentistry will kind of excel in all kind of fronts. It would allow dentists themselves to see more, the realities and the harsh realities of being a dentist, also in school when coming out, as you mentioned before, kind of the misconceptions that we have as to how glorious the career is actually going to be or how perfect and polished it actually looks like on the outside.
Mhm.
Once we get more people who are speaking a little bit more about, kind of the downsides, the negative sides, not
Mm.
just the wins, but also the failures that they're having.
Right.
Not only will that help people who are going into the field of dentistry, first of all, but also help people on
Right.
the other side to be like, look, okay, these dentists, they're actual people. And I'm maybe more
Right.
interested, especially for those who, you know, a dentist has always been a fear of theirs to go to,
Mhm.
to kind of get a human aspect of this scary dentist thing,
Yeah.
would
Right.
be much better for them in terms of actually coming into the clinic more often, which is what we want at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny you say that because I get that every day. I'm scared of going to the dentist. I probably get it like 3 times a day.
Hmm.
And if they
It's
saw me for me, it would
yeah.
be a completely different experience. And I tell them, I'm like,
Yeah.
look, I seem pretty friendly, don't I? Like, we're just gonna keep talking like this. We're gonna go step by step. Like, if there's any time that you feel uncomfortable or you have a question, like raise your hand. So I try to, make it as inviting and warm as possible. But there's
Hmm.
that fear. Really, it's a strong fear for some
Yeah.
reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one. I mean, these are two crazy facts, but I think I don't know if that is a statistic, but I know for a fact, MDs and dentists have the highest suicide rate, first of all,
Mhm.
and second of all, I heard once that because their whole life they live in this like knowing that people are afraid of them, that I don't know that dentists can be more prone to certain mental illnesses just due to that fact. And what I think is good because back in time, it was really this thing where also the dentists had their fault in that, because they were living a different life. They were really just there were a lot of people who just cared for the money, and
Mm-hmm.
so it became like a bash. The people would only go to the dentist because they need to, and
Right.
the dentist would just treat also because they just wanted to make the money. And what I see I think it's especially like, let's say, our generation, where this kind of stigma gets kind of broken apart, where the people also really understand what dentists like, that it's a super difficult job, super complex
Right.
job. And
Right.
yeah, I think that's great to see. um how did your life change now that you are also on social media as a dentist?
Oh, I have much more freedom and I'm able to be more creative. And I think that creativity is what motivates me to keep going. Because if I didn't have that stimulation, then I think I'd just be living in this fixed monotone like rhythm, and that would be unfulfilling for me,
Yeah.
at least. For me, social media and being on the internet and having that like access to something different really like ignites something else in my mind. It's not just science, it's not just teeth, it's something different where there's interaction with other people, and I'm building a community and I'm having conversations with different types of people. And I think it's that connection that makes my life more enjoyable now.
Hmm. Yeah,
Awesome.
that
Awesome.
yeah, that sounds good. I think
I
that's
think that's
that's a big point.
yeah, that's needed in every single domain as well, especially in
Yeah.
one as difficult as ours, um,
Right.
where nobody's actually speaking about anything like apart from the good.
Yeah.
You do need that a little, and also you touched on that a bit. I would say David and I are also somewhat creative people as well, and in the industry where we're in, it's kind of apart from I guess you can get creative with the work that you do. You can get a bit artistic with that, but apart from that, there's
Right.
not much room to, you know, show that side of yourself. And would you
Right.
say that using social media for that outlet has helped you in your daily life as well in terms of getting better with dentistry itself?
I definitely go back to work happier. I would say
Yeah.
that because I have this outlet that kind of resets me, and then I go back and I realize I go back to work and it's I'm not just I'm not just there to serve patients anymore. I'm serving a larger group of people. So I know that I'm doing more by being active on social media, and that feels good. And not only that, like I feel more confident going into work. So I'm able to deliver what I think is better quality of work because I just have more energy for it.
Hmm.
Um, that's what I've noticed because I'm balancing it out with something else as opposed to just focusing solely on clinical dentistry.
Mm. And
Yeah.
I would say that's super important for everybody to know going into it, even being a student, that you have to have a life outside of dentistry. I think it's super
Yeah.
Totally.
needed.
Most people,
Yeah.
yeah, the same during dental school or med school, in the whole medical profession. I think it's ridiculous.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
the people are not aware of what kind of sacrifice they actually put into this whole career, when they also just try to get the best grades. I don't know how it is in the US, but do you actually need to be best of the class to have a better future? Like in Europe, it doesn't matter at all. Like it's
Right.
one of these studies, when you finish, you get your job 100%. You can get a good job, doesn't matter what grades. I don't think they even consider that.
You mean when you graduate dental school and you're looking for a
Yeah.
job, do grades matter? Is that
Yeah.
your question?
Yeah.
No, grades don't matter. Somebody actually told me this really funny quote, let's call it. He said, "What do they call the last person in the dental class?"
A dentist.
Yeah, a doctor. At the end
Yeah.
of the day,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're number one or number
Yeah.
100. You're still a
Yeah.
doctor. Your patient is not going to know where you ranked in class.
No.
They don't see that. And I think this is what's really important. It's like in school, we strive to be number one student. We strive for the awards, the distinctions, and that is great because yeah, you're motivated to do well in school. The motivation is important, not taking away from that. But you don't
Mhm.
have to be number one. You have to care to learn, and I think that's the more
Hmm.
important thing, the curiosity to learn. And then when you graduate, your patient's not going to know whether you were number one or number 100. It's the quality of care that you're delivering, right?
Mr. 100 of
it. No.
Listen, life is about having fun. There needs to be balance, right? Like, you
Yes,
can't just be
100%.
fully one thing.
100%.
We all
Yeah.
have different layers. Like, we all evolve during life, right? Where I feel like every step of life is you're adding on a layer and a layer and a layer and a dimension. So we're not one dimension, we're multidimensional. So you have to like indulge in different things and explore different things to become like a fully competent person, right?
Yes.
But so yeah, to answer your question, you don't need to be number one in class. You can find whatever job, but it's hard to find a good job. I feel like it's because people are willing to take advantage, and I think that's the hard part. You have to find a good environment.
Yeah. But would you say, because that's something that we realized when we started just being active on social media, we did also something beforehand, which became pretty big. We realized that so many doors would open for us, and especially dentists in this very complex job where you are basically also a psychologist. You are like kind of, let's call it a goldsmith from your how you have to sit, the work you have to. You have so many jobs at once. What I realize is that the people who lead clinics or practices, they want someone who's really like the full package. And what I realized is that people who do something next to just being a dentist, like dentists like that a lot. If they can see that you're ambitious and you do other things, would you say that it also is already helping you, or will you help in the future with the different things that you do next to just being a dentist?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Would you say that the things that you do next to just being a
Right.
dentist, let's say the things that you maybe did instead of trying go to more masters or more congresses,
Yeah.
would you say that it helps also in the development as a dentist that other dentists then recognize?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's any harm in developing your skills. I think that only gives you more permission to grow, and maybe you realize that clinical dentistry is not for you, or maybe you realize that you want to focus on a certain specialty in dentistry, whatever it may be. For me, it's right now, my whole like philosophy is to say yes to everything. Like, I'm not saying no to things because I just want to experience different aspects of whether it's dentistry, whether it's entrepreneurship, um, whether it's creative when it comes to film or photography. So I'm just saying yes to opportunities because I'm trying to figure out what my passion is and where it lies. Like, by trying things, I'm learning more about me. And then if I like it, then I'll continue to pursue it. And eventually I'll narrow down what I don't like and focus only on the things that I like. And then that by choosing that and doing that, I'm creating the life that I want to lead. And I feel like that just makes you a more confident person. And whoever is looking to hire you will see that confidence and appreciate that, and appreciate the fact that you are invested in different things outside of dentistry. Usually the practice owner tends to be someone who is much older, who is settled, who has lived already many lives, and appreciate somebody who is young, who is willing to explore that. So you definitely need to invest in yourself. I think that's whether you're in dentistry or you're in any other career. I think investing in yourself has a ton of rewards.
Yes, 100%.
And would you say social media is a good outlet for that? I mean, not everybody wants to start a podcast like you do and like we have. But other people have different passions, and I know for sure that having a podcast has opened many doors in your life, maybe professionally and not professionally, but for us it also has too. And I would
Right.
recommend people who are, let's say they're not even planning to have their own practice. They maybe are an associate somewhere, or maybe still in a student in college. Would you recommend them to have or start their own social media kind of journey itself based on how it's been going for you?
That's a tough question. I can't say social media is for everyone, but I
Yeah.
do think that in this day and age, since social media is so like vastly present in everything, it's really important to build a brand. And I think building a brand requires you to be on social media. If you're so, like, for example, if you're interested in photography, then showcase your photography on social media, right? If you're interested in, I don't know, film, you showcase your film on social media. If you're interested in food, you showcase the cooking or the whatever it is on social media, or the restaurants on social media. I think social media is a good way to build a brand because it shows your personality. But I can't say that it's definitely hard work. It's not easy. It's tiring, and it's still work. But I do think going into the future, they say by 2035, content creation is going to be, or 2030, content creation is going to be a $435 billion industry. So social media in itself is such a powerful tool that everyone should be able to leverage it in order to build their brand. Whether you choose to or not, that's on you, depending on what your likes are, or, but definitely I think social media has value that you can leverage.
Yeah, I think I always say that to people if they ask us about it, because our former brand, we had like in total over 100,000 followers, subscribers. We had like 25 million views. And so we talked a lot about it. And when people ask me now that we are, let's say, switched over to the dental field where we kind of
Right.
attack those things, I always say I'm guessing that in 10 years, everyone will have social media. It's like the websites back in the days, because people
Yeah.
don't care for websites no more. No one wants to read that stuff. People just want to see it on social media in form of video, how the practitioner is, how the clinic looks. And
Right.
I always tell the people, everyone will be on social media. It's just your decision to start early. That's everything I can say. And I
Right.
think it's still early enough. Would you agree?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's like a visual report card. It really, or visual business card. Like everyone is
Yes.
seeing it, and everyone's taking information in little bits. So as long as you're providing bits of information, bits of news, bits of updates, then people are going to absorb that and see you for that. And that, like you said, you need to hop on this train. I think, because we just mentioned it, like content creation is going to be big. It is already big. It's already happening.
Yeah.
But it's never too late to join. Like my father always says, better late than never. But if you choose not to, I mean, that's your call. I just feel like it's harder for you to build a community, and build that trust with your customer or patient or consumer if you don't have social media.
Yes.
I don't know what other perspectives you might have on that.
No,
No,
I
I think
definitely agree.
100%,
Yes.
100%, because especially with dentistry, it's more so people are coming in to get like an end result. That's what they want. They see what they have, they think it's not good enough, and they want what they can see other people have. So as David said, websites are going to be, I think, are going to be extinct, basically.
Do you really think so? I don't know if that can. I mean, I understand why, but I understand why, but I think because I was having this conversation or this thought the other day myself, and I was like, okay, social media is booming, right? That is your quick business card, okay?
Yeah.
It's your quick CV, but people ultimately want to know, like, come to your house, and your house is your website. So, or your office is your website. So I
What
think your
I think
website matters.
I think website for now it does matter. But what we're seeing a lot more people do with websites now, whereas back in the day, websites used to have a lot of stock images on there. People are putting all their before and afters and pictures that they put on social media.
Yeah.
They're putting them on their website. And
Right.
eventually, I think once social media, once it's going to be a thing where possibly they're going to implement a sort of map feature where you can just search inside Instagram once
I
the
think I
social
think
media place.
it's more like a fuse.
Yeah, where
Like
you
like
can
it's
search in there for the
yeah.
closest dentist to you. And
Yes.
once that kind of gets running, your social media is going to be more your website's going to be more obsolete. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to disappear totally, but if
Right.
they start introducing things which social media sites have done for years, introducing things from Google into there, as David said, it will be a fuse. And I think that's the point where it's like, do you want to start now? Especially if you're owning a practice. I think that's more important
Right.
to say. Do you want to start
Yeah.
now with social media and grow your audience before everybody else jumps in? Or do you want to start later? That's the question that
Yeah.
we always ask practitioners,
Yeah.
when's
Yeah,
when do you want?
I think the big point, if you just look at it, it is always a matter of attention. It always had been. Like it's always trading attention. And back in the days, if we remember, it was so super important where your clinic would be located. That was the number one thing of making money or not. So the ones that were the bravest who said like, okay, let's go. I pay this huge rent. It paid out, I think, for all of them that were positioned downtown on the, let's say, on the corners of buildings and so on. And the attention shifted then to the web. And right now, what I see, most people that I know that run huge businesses, they don't even have websites, and they make hundreds of thousands per month, and they just have their social media. I do agree you should always have one because I look up, let's say, but the only thing that I look up is the address. That's really it, address, and if I want to find out who's working there. But besides that, if they manage to bring that to Instagram, let's say a map function, then let's say about me, something like that, I think it's finished because also we all transition. We are kind of getting lazy to read. So most, especially the young generation, they don't like to read. They just want to see the video.
Right. Right. No, definitely. But that's why I said it, because I personally, like when I do go through the Instagram, that's the first thing I check. And then after I check, I go to the bio and I see if there's a website. I click on the link just because it's part of my research into the brand or into the person.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I feel like maybe it's not going to be totally obsolete. It's still needed, but we'll see. Like you said, maybe if they bring other functions, then you won't need it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We will see where all of this goes. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's great. And the people who really benefit the most are the patients because
Yeah.
they really lose their fear by just seeing those videos. They realize, okay, he's just a normal person like me, like everyone else. And
Right.
the next thing is that the content comes to the people because I think there are not many people who would just be like, let's search up some nice dentists or some dental videos to educate myself. But when it just shows up, someone has for example, a good hook, interesting video, they're like,
Yeah.
this is nice. And then they start watching it more and more, and they actually start being educated and they care more about their teeth, which is the end goal, I would
It's
say.
which is the end goal. And it's funny, I actually had a patient come to me and I was like, she's like, I saw your YouTube videos. I was like, what? Excuse me? And she goes, yeah, I found you on YouTube. I said, oh, interesting. Like I didn't even think, because I invest so much more energy on Instagram than I do on YouTube, that I didn't even think that a patient, because my community is mostly dentists, right? I didn't think that a patient would find me, let alone through YouTube. So when she said that, I was like, okay, people are watching. And that's the point. Like there's always someone watching. So make yourself look good or make yourself available through an outlet.
Yeah.
And how's that patient interaction compared to just a normal patient who has no idea of who you are until they actually come into the practice?
Say again?
How's the interaction with that patient compared to somebody who maybe didn't see you on social media? Do you find any difference?
Oh, I mean, obviously, I'm more excited when a patient tells you that. You're like, oh, my
Mm-hmm.
work is making an impact. Or if someone is, because a lot of times you're putting all this content out there and you don't necessarily get the likes that you want or the shares
Mm-hmm.
that you want or the saves that you want. So you're like, oh, someone is seeing it. You're slowly building your community, and every everyone matters, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise you feel like your work is just, for the walls, right? No one's listening to it. But when the patient comes in and they say like, oh, I saw you on there. I watched your videos. I looked you up. You're like, okay, I'm making an impact, or they clearly like my personality, or they must be curious about me. And so I was a lot more excited about meeting this patient and being there for this patient than just somebody who comes in, sits there and says like, oh, I just want to let you to know that I hate the dentist.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Which,
that's what we've noticed with a lot of dentists. Like when they do meet somebody who knows them from beforehand, they're so much more engaged, and they're so much
the
more like
people, yeah,
both
Yeah.
ways. It's
are
both ways.
both.
The dentists
Right.
themselves are so much more engaged, and they feel. I think that when you're much more engaged with the patient itself, your
Right.
your job is automatically gets better.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
the same the other way. Once the patient is more
Mhm.
engaged with you, also, not only is it easier for you, especially for those who are scared to, present a case that might be a bit daunting for them beforehand. Um,
Right.
it's on all fronts that it helps, and that's where I see the huge benefit in actually having a social media account for you, not only, but also for your patients when it comes
Yeah.
to
Right.
dentistry.
I can tell you that my intention and my investment into that patient was significantly stronger, just because
Hmm.
I was motivated to help that person. I felt like this person went through hoops to come to me, you know. And she actually shared with me like a complaint, or like a chief complaint that I was actually like, I didn't have a solution for, but I went and did research on, and then I went and asked my mentor, and then I kept following up with this whole thought process. And I reached back out to her, and I was like, please come back to the practice. I want to just, go over what I figured out, give you alternative options. And that's the extent of how much that means, right? So you're absolutely right. The investment is there.
Yeah, when you said she came out of her way, where did she come from? From Cali all the way?
No, but I mean, like, someone who made their way. I don't remember where she lives on, but
Yeah. No, I was just joking, but like they
yeah, I
come
mean, she
from
put an
further for
effort.
sure.
For sure, but she
It's
put
that
an
effort.
effort. She put an
Yeah.
effort to look me up, or she was probably like searching videos, finally found me, then looked me up, then made an appointment, then traveled there. Like those are all steps.
Yeah.
Like you have to give credit.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that's what I'm saying. She made an effort, and I tried to make an effort and reciprocate that effort by trying to address her chief complaint, which had me flabbergasted. But like, I wanted to make sure that she was okay.
Yeah. And I think also when I was a student, I worked always in my summer breaks in a practice. And it's so much more enjoyable if the patients, like people go to a haircut. They have this person that they really like. They go in there and they're already, before the haircut, they're like, yeah, this is gonna be nice. I can just chat a bit. And it should be kind of the same when you go to the dentist, where you're like excited. And in this clinic, there had been some patients that were so excited to just come around. And also the time working is so much more enjoyable when you have loads of patients around, where it's kind of, sometimes it's fun, sometimes they talk about interesting things in their life besides just talking about the problems.
Oh, right. Funny you bring this up. I had my last day in one of the offices on Tuesday, and I couldn't have asked for a better last day. Every patient who came in was a recurring patient, but it had been a patient that I built this rapport with over the year. And like, we were just picking up every time someone came into the office. It was like we were talking about their job. We were talking about, one of them's like active in housing rights. The other one is got their first job out of college. This one, and we were just having these conversations about life, and we were so excited. And there was such good exchange. The other one was going all the way up for their birthday, and it was such a nice feeling to be able to be more than just a provider for this person, right? Like they come there with feeling comfortable enough to share vulnerable experiences, or emotional experiences with me, and that's, for me, I think the most enjoyable part of being a practitioner is having that patient interaction. So that's what I look for the most, or that's what I try to strive for, is to create that kind of interaction in the practice.
Sounds amazing.
Beautiful. Amazing, yeah. I mean, I think this is a good place for us to maybe put a pause on this. I would say I would love to. I mean, we probably don't have the time once we're in New York to maybe have a chat in person, but we'll see. I don't know.
I mean,
You
I'm
have
here.
to tell us. We have like one, we have like kind of
like
one
one
spot
slot.
left, and maybe you can tell us if you have the time.
Of course. I mean, share your dates with me and when you'll be here, and we'll try to coordinate something.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Perfect.
I would love that.
Yeah, it was a amazing episode, and I really enjoyed the insight, especially because it was kind of the first one from that kind of perspective. Let's say a dentist that really started a podcast to, from the side of trying to raise certain concerns or misconceptions inside this field.
Right.
And I think it will be very insightful for a lot of, especially young dentists, that just will start in their first clinic or that are still in dental school. So
I think we do have to do a part 2 for sure.
Yeah, I would love that. I appreciate both of you for having me on. I really enjoyed this conversation. It would be amazing if you guys were here in New York and we could catch up, for sure.
Yeah. We will right after, like, I will just send you the things over. And
Sure.
before we stop, just one request, since we go to New York.
Yes.
Could you tell us, I thought about 3 things, but then it's maybe too overwhelming, too much. Will you tell us your one recommendation that tourists, like no tourist trap, like no nap, something that you would say is like the experience you have to make as when you are in New York, that you know as a New Yorker, and then one thing that we definitely shouldn't do from the nappy stuff.
And third thing, one place where we should go to get a slice of pizza, the best place.
The slice of pizza, you have to go
Yeah.
to Joe's Pizza or Prince Street Pizza, one of those two in
Okay.
All
Manhattan.
right.
Okay.
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 The other two, you're putting the pressure on because that's really hard. There's so much to do. There's so much to
Feel the
do.
pressure.
And yeah. Non-touristy thing you're asking for?
Yeah, like the jam that you maybe you and your friends enjoy doing in New York that is great, that only New Yorkers know about.
Well, if you're here in the next few weeks and the weather's still nice as it is right now, where the kids hang out, all it's a
What?
We don't want to hang out with.
no, but it's a fun spot. It's definitely a scene, but it's casual, it's cool, it's diverse, and it's called Dime Square, and it's a little triangle in Chinatown. It's not touristy. That's the point. So if you want to go, have like a good drink or food experience, I would go there. And the place I would recommend is Le Dive or Servos. So one of those two
Okay.
restaurants.
Okay. And yeah,
Awesome.
perfect. Yeah, I'm excited for
Yeah.
this then.
And the one thing we shouldn't, yeah,
That
One thing you
everyone
should-
does in New York that you shouldn't do.
there's maybe
Like-
overrated.
Yeah.
Going to Empire State Building or
I was
going
just
to.
why? But I want to see the city from above.
You can go to the Edge. That's pretty cool.
Is that the one out of glass?
The Edge is the one that, yeah, you stand on the glass at the corner and you have the whole
Okay.
view of the
Alright.
city. That's cool. I mean,
Alright.
Empire State. Listen, it's your New York experience. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, you will just
but,
you will
like-
just see me in 2 days. Like, yeah.
Places I avoid: Times Square, Empire State, Rockefeller Center. So me telling you these things are not going to make you feel good because it's everything that you want to do.
Yeah, it's everything
Yeah.
that's on the list.
It's just a list gone. Yeah.
But something that you should do is, like, again, weather is nice. There's this place called Little Island on the west side. You take that, it's on the water. You can do that and then walk along the water on the west side. It's actually quite nice.
That sounds good.
To the West Village, which is also
Yeah.
a cool neighborhood to be a part of.
Yeah.
Perfect. We'll
Perfect.
jot all of that down and
Yeah.
we'll try to hit as many of those stops. Especially, I'm excited for the pizza. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah,
That's
the
my-
pizza, Prince Street or Joe's Pizza.
Joe.
Those are the two that I would recommend.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Well,
All right.
thank you very much. As always, all of Ellie's links will be down below. So you can check her out on, where are you at? You're on YouTube, you're on Instagram. Are you also on TikTok?
I am not on TikTok. That's the one channel that I will not get into.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a wild place. I know that for sure.
It's a rabbit hole that I don't want to go through. Like,
Yeah.
no, I can only handle so much like noise.
Yeah.
I can't handle TikTok noise.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. But all
Yeah.
of the links will be down below, so you guys should definitely check her out.
Yeah.
Whether you're an associate, you're a practice owner, you're a student, you're maybe looking to get into dentistry, there's
Yes.
all types of knowledge that you would definitely benefit from over there.
Yes. And don't forget to subscribe if you also want to see other people that we invite on this podcast to just talk about the dental field, about, let's say, the entrepreneurial part of it or the lifestyle part of it besides the clinical dentistry.